May I invite our moderator, Mr. Priyabrata Das, Managing Director, TMT Consulting, PwC, to kindly grace the stage, please. We invite our eminent panelists, Dr. Puneet Rathore, Technical Standards and Spectrum Engineering, Qualcomm. We invite Mr. Paramjeet Singh Puri, Global Director of Membership, Wi-Fi Alliance. Joining us online is Mr. Praveen Rao, CEO, CPRAV. I invite Mr. Bhuvnesh Sachdeva, Senior Vice President, HFCL. And joining us online is Mr. Seema Kadri, Board Advisor, WBA, and co-founder, President and CBO, Catchwave, who's also joining us on the virtual platform. And may I now hand over to our moderator, sir, Mr. Priyavrata Das, Managing Director, TMT Consulting, PwC India, to kindly carry forward the proceedings of the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Great to see everyone, great to see people, the industry leaders, industry participants come in for this first panel discussion. We have eminent speakers here, industry leaders. No, it's live. So, just continuing. So, and I know, welcome back, participants after the tea session. Great to have you back with us. We have an eminent panel of experts, distinguished industry leaders here, and we have participants from across the globe as well, as you can see on the video behind us. For this session today, we have about an hour. We are looking forward to this discussion, engaging thoughts, engaging points that I'm sure we will all together speak about. The topic that we have today, as you have heard, is redefining connectivity with 6 gigahertz. This is the topic, and it's such a topical point that we will talk about today in the context of World Wi-Fi Day as well. Further, as we all know, the delicensing announcement has taken place regarding delicensing of lower 6 gigahertz frequency band for low power Wi-Fi devices in India. Clearly, what we are looking at today, just to set the context, just to set the stage, all of you are aware, clearly in addition to our legacy 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz spectrum, we also have the opportunity, subsequent to the announcement in January, we also have the opportunity to now harness 6 gigahertz spectrum, high speed, low latency, also clean spectrum, by which I mean relatively no legacy devices, and therefore opens up the door for enterprise grade services. Some of our very experienced speakers earlier in the day spoke about those topics. We will highlight them. We will go deeper into a lot of those. Let's take a step back. Clearly, the focus now is also on connectivity. That is the topic of our discussion today as well. Connectivity, it is about access. It is about inclusion. It is about equitable access for everybody in India and of course beyond. With those points in mind and to be able to bridge the digital divide, this is absolutely at the right time that we are talking about, and we are at the cusp. We are talking about what do we now have as an opportunity with 6 gigahertz with Wi-Fi. Let's touch upon a key points, and as I said, We have an eminent panel here. In a few moments, I will introduce those distinguished panelists as well. Let me touch upon a few points as we start this topic. Just a few, pointers that we will cover also in this engaging discussion today. Clearly, the point I would want to mention is some of the key factors. One of the key factors being with 6 gigahertz, clearly being the wide channel. We are looking at 320 megahertz. We are looking at what is generally known, all of us know in the industry, EHT, right? We are talking about the possibility of a significant number of such use cases that we will look at, right? So it opens up that opportunity for our wide channel applications as we go with greater throughput. That's an important point to take a look at. The other point that we would want to certainly highlight is also MLO as we go forward. Clearly, when we are moving in this direction, when we look at MLO and when we look at also intertwined with devices, when we look at a Wi-Fi 6E device or we look at a Wi-Fi 7 device, when we are looking at that, clearly MLO building on tri-band architecture, MLO, simultaneous MLO, utilizing the various multiple spectrum is a key dimension. We all know this, therefore hitting on low latency, therefore hitting on strengthened resilience, right? So those are important points, and I know this distinguished panel will talk about in greater depth, in greater detail as we touch upon that topic. The other topic, which is again woven through this, and we have seen as telecom experts, all of us together, we have seen this in so many threads, is the ecosystem play. We are looking at the ecosystem play once again here. We know, you are all experts here, no need to repeat, just quickly highlighting that when we look at 6 gigahertz, by the very nature of it, high frequency, low coverage, we know that, low propagation, we know that. Therefore, what it amounts to is AP density. Now, what that means is, of course, high capex, high infrastructure, network implications, and also network deployment or our deployment strategy. So we have to take a look at that. We will be looking at capex. We will be looking at the economics of it also when we speak about AP density. We have some questions on those topics, and I know this august body of panelists here from across the globe, as I say, will throw a lot of light on those topics. The other important dimension is what we are seeing globally. What we are seeing globally also, if I can just take a few examples, US, for instance, they are looking at de-licensing of the entire 6 gigahertz, full unlocking as it is called. And therefore, they are getting some benefits of innovation, again, very important topic there, of use cases and of enterprise get services. The other country that we will look at, and we have some pointed questions on, is South Korea. And in South Korea, we will again take some learnings from device play. We will take some learnings from the interplay between cellular and Wi-Fi. That's another topic that is so important, the interoperability and the seamless transition. So we will talk about that. There are points, questions that we will hear from the experience of the distinguished panelists. We will discuss that. The other important topic we also want to cover today as we go around the table discussing is PM WANI. PM WANI has come up in the previous discussion as well today, earlier in the morning. And when we talk of PM WANI as a Wi-Fi, as a public Wi-Fi platform forum, what it clearly means is how do we look at open roaming and what are the key learnings? What can we borrow? What can we leverage from there? Key points definitely around, as we are all seeing, user authentication or auto authentication or seamless authentication, onboarding. Key points around that become important. And I know our panelists will also throw some light as we go around and go around the table and discuss that. Those are going to be important points when we look at it. A few more points around AI. As we all know these days, especially in the telecom world, there is no topic, no topic can be comprehensively discussed without touching AI. And AI is very important here as well. We are looking at AI use cases, for instance, around resource management. We are looking at it around AP load balancing. We are looking at it around MLO management or MLO synchronization. So AI is an important theme. Once again here as well, we will dwell on that, we will talk about that, and I know it's going to be a very interesting point to cover. As we round this up and as we look at this discussion, we will also look at, coming from this discussion, what are the additional points or what are the additional actions that can be taken with regard to regulatory, with regard to policy, with regard to ecosystem. We will try and touch on topics like how do we make sure that we are looking at a fair balance, a win-win paradigm for telcos and Wi-Fi. Again, a topic, and I know that got touched upon a few moments back as well. So that is something we will talk about. The Make in India play, the device play, we have industry leaders sitting here. So the device play, the Make in India part of it, as well as fiber backhaul is also an important topic, again, intertwined, so we will touch upon that topic as well. So these are a few of the topics that we will be covering today, and as we discuss this and make this point on the World Wi-Fi Day, I'm very excited, I'm very delighted to initiate this discussion. Let me also take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Priyo Broto. I go by Priyo. I work as a managing director in PwC in the telecom consulting practice. And as I said, really looking forward to the discussion today. I will take a few moments as I introduce my co-panelists, colleagues, and experts. Before that, a quick one word of appreciation for Broadband India Forum for inviting us and giving us this opportunity to present before you and discuss before you. Mr. Paramjeet, please.
Yeah. Hi, everybody, and welcome back from the tea break, which was a very short one. I couldn't get my cup of tea. Anyways, once again, thanks to the Broadband India Forum, and I'm Paramjeet Singh Puri. People normally call me as Param, and I'm from the Wi-Fi Alliance. I'm the Global Director for Membership for the APAC and the EMEA region here. And I'm based out of Bangalore. I work out of Bangalore, out of my home office here. Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bhuvnesh Sachdeva. I work with HFCL Limited. I am heading the Wi-Fi business unit with HFCL. Thank you for having me here, and I hope you will have the patience to hear all the discussions that we are going to have. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is Puneet Rathod. I'm part of the Qualcomm Spectrum Engineering team, also part of the Global Standards team. Happy to be here and share my views. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can I go over to the experts from across the globe, please? Seemab, can I go to you first, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Priyo, and hello to everyone. Greetings on World Wi-Fi Day. Really glad and grateful to join the 6 GHz panel over here. Seemab Kadri, I'm advisor to the board of the directors of WBA on AI, as well as I'm a co-founder of Cashwave. It's a new startup focused on deep edge computing. I actually wanted to borrow kind of a second of time over here, like to today is the 10th anniversary of World Wi-Fi Day, if you guys know, and wanted to share a kind of a quick thought on how the Wi-Fi's journey has been for the last 10 years. So today, Wi-Fi conducts what is known as like 7 zettabytes of traffic, zettabyte being one with 21 zeros on an annual basis. And this is 15 times more than what it did 10 years ago. And so far, it has done this using the 580 megahertz of spectrum on the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bands primarily, right? So think of the amount of spectrum reuse efficiency that Wi-Fi has already brought to the table, okay? And now, if you project forward, it is, by different, analysts and all, it is projected that in the next 3 to 4 years, before the end of the decade, the overall traffic is going to triple or more than triple. So think about that. So this 6 gigahertz conversation is one of the most consequential happenings for Wi-Fi at the moment. This is a much needed headroom for a technology that has been delivering, all kinds of wireless connectivity to all kinds of devices, and this is the capacity that is in demand and is needed by Wi-Fi. Okay, with that, thank you and let's continue the
Thanks,
discussion.
Seema. Thank you so much. Over to you, Praveen, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. This is Praveen Rao. I think we are in between lunch and this presentation, so we will try to finish it as quick as possible. Sorry, I just lost my connection. Just give me 1 sec. Yeah. You can hear me all right?
We can.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, this is Praveen Rao. I'm from a company called CPRA, which is Compliance and Product Regulatory Approvals in Australia and India. I'm actually in the middle of my holidays. I'm in Nepal, in Kathmandu, just at the foothill of Himalayas. So I did not want to miss the opportunity on this significant day of, celebrating Wi-Fi Day today. So I'm here for a short presentation, which I'll be doing it in a minute. But the introduction that Priyo gave before, he covered the entire spectrum of Wi-Fi, I think. It's been too short a time to discuss all those topics, but we'll do our best in whatever we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Praveen, and we will certainly try to give you a worldview of 6 gigahertz as it relates to Wi-Fi. Okay, so let's start off with a few questions. And again, as I said, I'm so excited to hear the points coming out of the experience and knowledge of the panelists. Puneet, if I can go with you first, please. Now, just want to get your view, and especially from a spectrum engineering, Qualcomm perspective, heritage that you come from, really. Given where we are and given 6 gigahertz, your take, your perspective on, how you are looking at it. Of course, in comparison with 2.4, in comparison with Legacy 5, that's one dimension. But how do you look at it, and how are you looking at it more from a, wide channel perspective, given we have 500 megahertz channel, of course, and how are you looking at it also from a, a total contiguous spectrum availability standpoint? So your thoughts, again, coming from your spectrum engineering background, will really be helpful. So,
Thank you. So this is truly like you mentioned, and also it was mentioned that this is enormous amount of new greenfield spectrum, and what this really does is, if we look at the 2.4 gigahertz, that is around 80 megahertz. In the 5 gigahertz range, we have another 400, 500 megahertz. But the 5 gigahertz is truly not contiguous. It is fragmented. There is 200 megahertz from 5150 to 5350 with a slightly different variation in time, kind of the kind of transmit powers available in that band. 100 megahertz having different rules, the next 100 slightly different rules, and then 5470 to 5875, again different rules within subparts of the band. So these are different sub-bands, slightly fragmented, not sufficient amount of contiguous spectrum. 5925 to 6425, this 500 megahertz is truly greenfield Wi-Fi spectrum without any legacy Wi-Fi devices. And maybe I'll just take a moment to explain why I bring up this legacy, and which was mentioned previously as well, that Wi-Fi as a technology, it utilizes the previous legacy devices use listen before talk. So before I start talking, I will just wait for the channel to be free. If the channel is free, nobody else is talking, then I will transmit my packet. And if those legacy Wi-Fi access points or Wi-Fi devices are within the range, then the slowest network brings down the total throughput in the entire area. So, for example, if we are in this conference room, if there is a legacy Wi-Fi hotspot installed by the hotel or by a personal hotspot, that slowest Wi-Fi device will bring out the collective throughput within this room. The 6 gigahertz does not have this legacy problem. There are no legacy devices potentially trying to bring down that network throughput. And then to add to it, now we have the possibility of going much broader channels, 160 megahertz or 320 megahertz channels. And because we do not have that legacy, in the 5 gigahertz, when a Wi-Fi access point is trying to utilize broader channels, if there are legacy devices, it falls back to not being able to utilize those broader channels, because then it can only use free Wi-Fi channels. 6 gigahertz can then utilize the broader channels so that it can give multi-gigabit throughput speeds in those broader channels. And then there are technology enablers which allow this to happen. Wi-Fi 7, for example, has a technology ingredient which is preamble puncturing. So if one particular 20 megahertz channel is utilized by some legacy Wi-Fi network, it can skip that smaller segment of the channel and then still utilize the rest of the available spectrum. So there are technology enablers which can then allow utilizing this broader channels, allowing additional spectrum bandwidth and a wider throughput. Maybe I'll just take a pause now, and because then there are additional technology things, but MLO was one of them. But I think that would allow additional thoughts. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think what you're saying is we will peel the onion gradually, more questions to come. So point taken, Puneet. Understand. And great points. I think thanks for so definitively bringing up the point about contiguous spectrum. Thanks for that. And also highlighting, underlining the point about greenfield. So great points there. Let's move to Mr. Bhuvnesh Sachdeva. And again, we will borrow on the heritage that he comes from, which is one of India's key Make in India players, Himachal Futuristic, Make in India for the world concept that their organization has really taken to high levels. Now, using that, so therefore, what we were wondering and what we wanted to get your thoughts on is, you and your organization, how are you looking at using Make in India, looking at, say, this opportunity that it provides in terms of, we talked about AP density. So AP, we talked about backhaul. Of course, fiber, you are one of the foremost players. So OFC, what's your thinking on that? And therefore also device certification and power design. So wanted to get your thoughts. How do we see it from a device standpoint, please?
Okay. So let's pick one topic at a time. First and foremost, let's talk about the certification. Today, any Wi-Fi device that we deploy in India, at least 3 certifications are mandatory. One is WPC ETA, one is MTCT, TC, and finally ITSAR now. That is also becoming mandatory. There is another debate going on for BIS CRS. I'm not sure whether that has been made mandatory for Wi-Fi yet, but I believe that will also become mandatory in the coming times. Certifications do offer a way to make sure that the equipment that we deploy in the country are reliable and safe and secure and all these things. Certainly they do matter, but they also pose a lot of stress on OEMs because one, the certifications are expensive. Two, having different bodies provide certifications for different things. As I mentioned, 4 of these I just talked about. So it becomes very time consuming and cumbersome also. So we at HFCL, we are one of the PLI beneficiaries. We advocate strongly that we should have a single window for all certifications in a simple process, and that can be very quick also. So once we have that, we actually achieve the goal of having reliable, secure and safe devices that we deploy in the network without any apprehensions that government or our regulatory bodies may have. So that is on the certification parts. Second, on the power and thermal management, we all have to appreciate that bringing in 320 megahertz of channel sizes, double the throughput that we could achieve with the 160 megahertz channel when we were talking about just 5 gigahertz. And most of the devices, in fact, almost all the devices today, they are not just dual band, they are now tri-band devices. Very few devices are coming in just 6 gigahertz, which means that whatever power our device was consuming in 2.4 and 5, almost similar amount of power or even more power they are consuming for 6 also. So the equipment design becomes very tricky because now you are earlier generation devices which were consuming typically 15 to 20 watts of power at highest load. Now they are consuming more than 35 watts, which means that equipment design, making sure that the thermal management is proper and your device continues to perform reliably in the peak load. This becomes important. We at HFCL, we have been perfecting the art of outdoor equipment, which is a little more difficult because now your outdoor equipment has to sustain an ambient temperature of up to 55 or even higher degrees Celsius. We have perfected that art. Now, bringing that into a tri-band radio design, let's say for indoor, because right now, at least for India, we are only allowing 6 gigahertz in very low power and low power indoor devices. We are not talking outdoor yet, but yet the equipment design from a thermal perspective becomes equally challenging as we have been doing for outdoor devices in the past. Poses a good opportunity for companies like us to prove our designs quickly because we have the experience. We also are promoting the ecosystem, especially the mechanical design ecosystem in the country, which continues to evolve as we speak, and we are getting more and more thermally efficient designs done in-house or through some third-party companies, which is also helping them grow in the industry. Talking about the backhaul, most of the networks today, they are based on a 1 gigabit RJ45 or 1 gigabit connectivity. The switching systems, they offer 1 gigabit. And we are talking about going to tri-band access points with 2.45 and 6 gigahertz interfaces on the wireless side. Unless we improve the backhaul, the entire experience is going to go down, because when we are talking about 2x2 MIMO, 2.45 and 6 gigahertz radio, the typical capacity we are able to achieve is more than 10 Gbps. If your backhaul is restricted to 1 Gbps, it won't really matter whether you are having a Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7 tri-radio or a dual radio device if your backhaul is not updated. So to cater to that, we are also bringing a multi-gig switching portfolio as part of our offerings to the customers, wherein they are able to upgrade the entire infrastructure, bring in multi-gig ports on the switching side, and of course, these multi-gig ports have to be part of your wireless access points also. this will enable the entire ecosystem to be able to fully utilize the potential of 6 gigahertz and tri-band units. I hope I cover all the points.
Yeah, thanks. And for very carefully, meticulously addressing all the four subparts of the point. Great point. And one thing that really struck me in your answer was, among other things, how your organization is also helping develop the ecosystem for, thermal design particularly, not just within the organization, but also around the ecosystem, as it were. So great points there. Let's move on to CMUB now on video with us. CMUB, given your background and experience from a WBA standpoint, and since we were speaking about what is it that we are seeing globally, and what are the learnings, what are the outcomes that we have seen globally from 6 gigahertz. So wanted to kind of pick your brain, please, on your thoughts, given your experience across the world from a WBA standpoint. Simab.
Thank you. First of all, it's really good to see that India has kind of taken this step on enabling the 500 megahertz or the lower 60 gigahertz band over there. If you look at what has happened at a global level, overall, you can see that Wi-Fi has transitioned from what was kind of the congested best effort on the 2.45 gigahertz to a more deterministic, QoS-centric platform. And now it is, front and center on delivering the gigabit broadband that comes to the premise, to the devices, as well as providing a very strong offload to the mobile. So both of these are kind of the very important plays that Wi-Fi does, historically, and they've become much stronger. Specifically, if you go down, you'll see that from a global regulatory momentum perspective, there are like 97 countries that have authorized 6 gigahertz band, fully or partially. So this is happening as we speak, and numbers are growing month over month. There are a lot of devices in the market that have come that support 6 gigahertz. There was a study that was published by Intel, 5,000 device models in the market with about 1,200 device models supporting Wi-Fi 7, 80% with full gigahertz band support. So the whole device ecosystem has evolved around it. And this has also driven a big business refresh cycle on the enterprise side. Year over year, I think there was, for 2025, if I recall, 12% growth on the Wi-Fi 7 adoption in the enterprise space, upgrading their networks and all that happened. So all of the device momentum is moving forward. And as the deployments are happening, so is the user experience, so is the connectivity improving. Wi-Fi 7 has come with a bunch of cool features. We heard a lot about MLO, there is 320 megahertz, preamble puncturing, but also the AFC standard power implementation has become formalized, it is productized, it is deployed. So all of these, core features of Wi-Fi 6E7 are in the market. Another really interesting aspect that has, used this effect of 6 gigahertz in the market is forward-looking on the 7 gigahertz conversation that is coming up. It is on the horizon, but the discussions have already started. But because of the 6 gigahertz success of unlicensed, there is a small request of an additional 125 megahertz into the, the over 1200 megahertz of the 7 gig spectrum that is being debated now, to add to the unlicensed so that there could be 4 320 megahertz channels. When you have the 4 320 megahertz channels, 320 megahertz becomes very real, whether you use it by itself or whether you use it through MLO. It's kind of the capacity, as I was talking about, is what is needed. And that capacity can be reached with existing Wi-Fi 7 devices. Because it is in the lower side of the 7 gigahertz, you don't need new hardware for most parts to go address it. Wi-Fi 7 devices with upgrades of firmware and software can be accessing that. So that is really kind of a strong push from a global, from a 6 gigahertz standpoint that we see. Now, personally, I do feel that I wish India would also go and support the full upper and lower band of 6 gigahertz so that we can have India involved in the 7 gigahertz conversation as well, to see more than one 320 megahertz channel available. I don't know if there is still an opportunity, but I certainly do hope that there is some scope to look at things like what UK is doing with Ofcom, where you can Wi-Fi can still access the upper 6 gigahertz till mobile starts using it. So some kind of creative thoughts over there would help. But I think like overall from a global standpoint, there are a lot of benefits of 60 gigahertz already showing up, and hopefully all of those start showing up in India as well.
Great, Seema. Thanks for sharing. And, and again, as I said, peppering your response with specific data points, as you said, good to know. 97 countries, are on the 6 gigahertz road. And also, the aspiration that you looked at, when will 7 gigahertz be available? And that's a good one that you made regarding that will allow us wide channels 320 mega 4, not just 3 with 6, so 4. So that's a good one, aspirational request, point of view that you had. So great points there. Let me now move to Paramji. And, it's a similar point I wanted to bring up with you, but again, just borrow on your expertise, from a WF Alliance, standpoint. And when we look at specific countries, the learnings that we get, say a South Korea, say a EU region, when we look at, and wanted to get your thoughts around what do you see with 6 gigahertz, especially on AP density, especially on wide channels and on latency? How are they tackling it? What's your experience from them and the learnings for India, please?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, just to add, also to what Seema was saying, and also the presentation which I made in the previous session, one of the points which I probably could have added was that the number of shipments which is happening in the 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi in the last year was about more than 500 mobiles were shipped with 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi, close to 200 million APs and routers were shipped of Wi-Fi 6E and Wi-Fi 7, and close to 160 million of consumer electronic shipments were shipped with 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi last year. So you can see, the deployment which is happening in the 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi perspective is huge, and it's going to grow every year. And if you look at, yes, countries like the United States of America, which has not only opened up the entire 1200 megahertz of the 6 gigahertz band, and there is already a talk, of the beginning part of the 7 gigahertz spectrum. Also, some of the advocates are talking about that, the Wi-Fi advocates, whether that should be opened up for Wi-Fi. Of course, there is a resistance to that, even from the US-based telcos like AT&T and Verizon. And but the USA has also opened up, a scope of, they were also the first pioneers to launch the AFC, Automated Frequency Coordination services, to make sure that 6 gigahertz standard power operation was in use. And now they're also opened up something which I just mentioned in my previous presentation, geo-fenced variable power application, which allows not only low power and very low power, but standard power equipment also to be deployed within the 1200 megahertz, which opens up the field for IoT deployment, AR/VR deployment, XR deployment, and for industries like healthcare, education, and space, etc., to a large extent here. In South Korea, they were one of the first countries to open up the entire 6 gigahertz spectrum. But I was speaking to couple of one of the telcos, Korea Telecom, KT, just a few weeks back, and they were mentioning that though they are using 6 gigahertz AP at the backhaul, they're still not using 6 gigahertz. Because of the cost factor, but they're planning to change in this year and the coming year. So they will actually, though the APs are enabled for 6 gigahertz, the backhaul is not there, which is something which they intend to change in the coming this year and the next year. So that's the interesting take which we had. And if you look at the European Union, which has just only opened up again 512 megahertz of the lower band, and there is now currently a big debate happening on the upper 6 gigahertz band. Again, there is a bit of a tussle going on between the IMT proponents and, the technology proponents. And, in fact, the Wi-Fi Alliance is practically camped over there in Brussels. And, we have appointed a lady who's the head of our European regulatory affairs, and she's basically camped over there, and she's working with the powers to be to kind of ensure that the upper 6 gigahertz is, is opened up by the EU, and they don't take the shallow and the view of just going ahead and allocating that to IMT, keeping that perspective with Ofcom's perspective, which has allocated a framework of Wi-Fi first and mobile later, priority-based approach, where they say that, like I mentioned again in my previous presentation, the ecosystem for IMT not ready, equipment not ready, power is a big issue. So till the time the IMT needs to be ready. It's not that we don't want them to be ready. They need to be ready. Once they're ready, they will allocate part of the 6 gigahertz spectrum to mobile also. So it will be a combined effort of Wi-Fi and IMT working in coexistence in that band. But till that time, it's a Wi-Fi first approach here. So these are some of the things which are happening in the global side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paramji. And I've also been told that we have a limited time in our hands, but we will make the most of it. So with that, I will go over to Praveen, who has joined us on video. Thanks, Praveen. And again, question for you, given your testing, product development background, again, the Make in India context, wanted to get your thoughts in this, with this background, what are your thoughts around product development, around testing, make in India for the world, therefore exports approach. What are your thoughts on how can India take this leap forward, please, Praveen?
Thank you.
And sorry, Praveen, I'm constrained to say we have 5 minutes as we have limited time. So my request is to share your wisdom in 5 minutes, please.
Okay. Actually, I had a short presentation to make because mine's more of a technical presentation covering standards for Wi-Fi, what regulations globally, how the global perspective on Wi-Fi standards, regulations, testing and certifications. So maybe I'll not go to, let me just share the screen if possible. This one slide is what I would like to share, and we'll talk about that if that is possible.
We can see your screen. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, great, thank you. So without going into anything detail, I'm just going to go straight to one slide, which is quite important, this one. I think we spoke about a lot about Wi-Fi, and it's the spectrum, the 1200 spectrum that's really important for India as well, which is hopefully coming up. Let's be optimistic about that. Now, the important challenges, I think what I would suggest also is for devices. That's what is using the 6 gigahertz. Someone mentioned Intel, and there's many other manufacturers looking into this. So what's really important is the multi-regulatory compliance that is going to be required for Indian manufacturers who are, obviously there are lots of startups coming up with the with the Make in India policy and Digital India policy that the government is promoting. I think it's very important that the Indian manufacturers are now citing these Wi-Fi incorporated devices that they manufacture, the host products that are going to incorporate these Wi-Fi devices. So with that, if the idea is to not only for local consumption, but also for global exporting, Then you need to look at the multi-regulatory compliance requirements. In the US, the FCC, the spectrums are different, so you need to now cater for whatever spectrum is allowed in those respective countries. So that means the lab capabilities in India. So how the lab needs to equip itself to be able to cater for testing the products for those regulations. The next important thing I would like to touch upon is the training. I think I feel it is a bit neglected in a way, because there is, there's definitely, we cannot ignore training, and that's the biggest need, I would say. In terms of product design, okay, design of products for reliability, for standards, the testing is, what the government initiative and support is going to be required. We are actually doing one of such events coming up, getting the global experts to India to train in the design aspects for EMC and radio testing. I'll move a bit quickly. I had a lot to cover, but I'm trying to really suppress some of my topics. So the other one is the lab and certification costs. Labs in India are not recognized. The US recent policy, I don't know how many of you have heard of it, they are only going to accept test reports from a country that has MRA with USA, which is the Mutual Recognition Agreement. Otherwise, so far it was accepted by a foreign accreditation. NABL accreditation was not good enough. You need to have a 8-2LA accreditation or a NABLAB accreditation. Labs, but even that is not going to be good enough anymore. What that means to the government is, maybe promoting a MRA, Mutual Recognition Agreement, which will allow, because China is going to be now ruled out in those terms. There's about 300 labs which cannot test for the US. So where would the OEMs go? These are a long topic that can be discussed. It is political, but it's also a huge advantage for India if it can leap into that. Finally, one important point is how do you test pre-certified modules in post products? So there is a lot you can leverage from those pre-certified, because the modules are already certified for those module vendors, and you can leverage that into your host device, and then that's something that can be also utilized and made use of in terms of the global compliance that is required. I think that's pretty much I can cover within 5 minutes, but there was a lot that I had in mind, but that's good. I think many people have covered many other topics. Just one last thing, the 320 megahertz channel that we were talking about, that's a great thing. What happens is in the US or Europe, while you're testing that, India has prescribed for a 26 dB bandwidth measurement, which is actually not possible for the 320 megahertz. So, US allows a 99% bandwidth measurement. Like I said, it's a bit technical, but that's something we look forward for a change from WPC as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Praveen, and thanks for sticking to the time. Appreciate your efforts. So we have a couple of minutes left, and if I were to summarize very quickly, we heard a lot of very thoughtful comments born out of the experience of this eminent body of panelists here and on the video. Clearly, some thoughts came out very clearly and very, very pointedly. For example, Dr. Puneet, you spoke about how this is not a contiguous spectrum earlier. So you underlined that dimension, a very important dimension. Also about this being a green field, channel spectrum available, and therefore much better able to address congestion as opposed to earlier. So great points there. Bhuvnesh, with your experience, you did speak about how you are helping with ecosystem, right? That's one important point. Also, in terms of how it would help if we can go in the direction, since you talked about the three certifications needed and more. So how it would help if we can take the journey towards a single window clearance, if that's possible. Good points there. And Paramji, You did speak about the experience that comes out of, deployment shipments. You spoke about it, and also how we are facing in certain parts of the world backhaul challenges. That's a bit of a bottleneck. So, and that point was, as fairly obvious as appropriate. This was made in a previous session also today morning about the importance of backhaul, that it doesn't become a bottleneck. So important points, good points there. And Seema, you did speak about, the 97 countries which are in the journey of 6 gigahertz, and as well as how we should and hope to get additional spectrum, 7 gigahertz range, 7 gigahertz spectrum frequency band. So those are great points. Lastly, you covered it up, Praveen. Thanks for that, and highlighting, how in certain cases testing in India may not be acceptable to certain external markets. We have to take a look at that. As you rightly said, some of it is political, but technical, political sometimes gets intertwined, and we have to address that. So good points. I think most of the topics that we raised and which are pertinent today to 6 gigahertz low power indoor Wi-Fi, we were able to address in this very short span of time. I want to expressly thank all of the panelists here in person and on video. Thank you so much for your time. What I will request is, ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, if there are additional questions, we will possibly be going over for lunch. Do, speak with us, and we are happy to interact for further questions, further discussions.
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's put our hands together for all our distinguished panelists. As I would request a moderator, Mr. Das, to do the honors of felicitating our eminent panelists. We would like to present a token of gratitude to Dr. Puneet Rathore. And to Mr. Bhuvnesh Sachdeva. And may I invite Mr. Devashish Bhattacharya, sir, to kindly come up and do the honors of felicitating the distinguished moderator. We present to Mr. Bhuvnesh Sachdeva also. And Mr. Bhattacharya to do the honors of presenting it to our distinguished moderator. And can we still have panelists who have joined us on the screen, please, so that they can join us in the group photograph?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you. So may I request everyone to kindly come up for a group photograph. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we now break for lunch, inviting everyone to kindly join us for lunch served outside. Yeah, thus we have both the panelists in the group photograph. And the next session will commence at 2:15, that is 15 minutes past 2. We would request you all, if possible, to kindly be back in time and be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a hard stop in the evening when we have to vacate the hall, so we need to get back on time. Thank you.